All right, let me just go ahead and explain this to y'all because a lot of y'all seem to be really confused about this, about Nintendo and the Switch and the whole tariff situation.
Hey, listen.
And I tried to address this before before the changes that happened today with the reversal of what happens with the tariffs. But a lot of y'all just did not understand this, and I want to dive into it because plain and simple, y'all, this was easy as day to see that what was happening, and there was no reason to believe otherwise. There was no reason to believe that there was going to be a price increase on the Nintendo Switch 2. There was no reason to believe so, but there's this whole freaking group of people across the internet who were just saying, oh, it's going to be increased, it's going to be $700, $800 over baseless information that just to get you riled up, because that's what people do nowadays. That's just how that works. But first, be sure to like, subscribe. It helps out tremendously. Thank you very much. So Nintendo Switch, which was introduced on April 2nd, comes in at a price of $450 or $499, depending on if it's the regular or the bundle with Mario Kart World. Of course, I still don't necessarily agree with the pricing, but they did release a statement as well, saying that the prices would fluctuate. So they kind of determined, depending on the game and the value of the game, on what they believe. But it's just so we might see 80, 70, even $60 games possibly within the Nintendo Switch 2. But pretty much what I want to address here is these people who were really jumping to the conclusion that, oh, they delayed the pre-orders, the price is going to rise. No, there was never any situation, y'all. There was never any instance where anything was implied that the price would be raised. Nintendo said that they would delay the pre-orders to assess the situation. Fact of the matter is that they have hundreds of thousands of Nintendo Switch 2s already within the walls of the USA. And so either way, even if that tariff would have stood up, the price change on that likely would not have taken effect until next year or something of the sort. But we all knew that that wasn't, well, anyone who with common sense and logicality knew that that was not going to be the case in the first place. So pretty much the way that you easily want to understand it is simply that these things were put in place so that way talks could happen. And that's exactly what happened. These tariffs went into place so talks could happen. Negotiations come through the door, and then you get better, situations for both parties, right? That was the whole premise of it. It was very easy to see. People were talking about market manipulation. There's nothing there. This is, if you had any semblance of common sense or logicality, this was very clear to see. It really was not rocket science whatsoever. It was like, oh, okay, this is gonna happen. Yeah, pretty sure this is gonna happen as well in a couple days or whatnot. Like it was very clear to see that it was a means for talks. But nonetheless, people were really getting caught up with this, thinking that, oh, well, the pre-orders mean that Nintendo Switch 2 was going to rise in price. No, nowhere did Nintendo ever explicitly say that the price was going to rise. There was no reason to believe this. However, you have a bunch of content creators, a bunch of people on X, a bunch of people just all across the internet saying, oh, the price is rising, creating havoc, creating chaos, creating misinformation, which is pretty much what the internet does nowadays. And let's face it, common sense left the room probably about 5 to 10 years ago. Let's be completely honest here. Common sense and logicality just completely left the room like 5 to 10 years ago. Why do you think we have all these content creators and streamers going over to these countries and doing the most dumbest stuff? You know what I'm saying? Then getting arrested and getting 20 years for it, like doing just common sense stuff that you shouldn't be doing, because common sense left the chat 5 to 10 years ago. And we're struggling to get it back because it's gone. It left the chat. It's gone. And this is another instance here where you can see that common sense left the chat.
Hey, listen.
It's been gone. But nonetheless, you have to understand that Nintendo moved their production to Vietnam, a lot of the production anyway, to avoid the initial China tariffs that came in 2019. In Vietnam, got hit with the 46% here this week. But then, of course, I got retracted to the flat 10% that everyone's getting, who reached out to negotiate as of the time of this post, the time of this video. And so you have to understand that the whole Vietnam one and the Japan one were the big things for Switch 2. Of course, those are no longer in play as we expected them not to be, because we knew anyone with common sense or logicality knew how this is going to play out. For a notable mention, Cambodia also supplies a portion of USA's stock for the Switch 2 as well, for the manufacturing for Nintendo as well. So pretty much Cambodia and Vietnam is where the bulk of the manufacturing goes for USA related. So, in case you were wondering about the whole grand scope of that, so those are kind of the two countries that you would need to look at for if you were trying to, try and line up. Okay, well, the tariffs here, this, that, this, that, but primarily Vietnam takes a huge portion of that. So, do understand that as well. But ultimately, there was never anything to get riled up about, like at all in the first place, because they were simply trying to just watch the situation unfold to see what was going to happen. The reason why pre-orders were delayed was simply because something changed within the whole landscape. So now it's like, okay, well, let's wait a little bit, just delay the pre-orders. Now, had they changed the date of the release date, then that would have been something to worry about. But just simply delaying the pre-orders, when the system doesn't come until June anyway, you delay the pre-orders a little bit. That's just simply giving you time to understand what the situation is going to be, let it evolve, let it progress. Maybe if you need to, mitigate supplies differently, so maybe you need to stagger the releases a little bit. Maybe you don't put as many out onto the market at one time. Maybe you're trying to get more into the States before these things hit. So and so and so. There was no implication that a price would increase. Never was there any. There was no reason to believe that a price would increase in any way, shape, or form from their statement that was given. There was none whatsoever, period. But people would lead you to believe that there was, and there simply wasn't. So this is me explaining to y'all to always think twice, to always fact check, to never just jump to conclusions, even though that's what we like to do in today's world, because common sense left the chat, the logicality left the chat, so people just jump to conclusions. Like think about cancel culture. The whole basis of cancel culture is jumping to conclusions. Think about it. That's the whole basis of it. The whole basis of that thing is jumping to conclusions. That's how it works. It's, oh, I see something, I hear something on the surface, I don't dive in, do any research on it, and I immediately attack it emotionally without any understanding of what's really going on, without giving any lane of dialogue to progress. Sound a lot like jumping to a price hike on the Nintendo Switch 2? Yeah, same as that thing. But anyway, y'all, hopefully this helped a little bit for a better understanding. Do better, be better. Be sure to like, subscribe. Comment down below. Let me know what you think about this whole situation. Let me know if you're excited about the Switch 2. Let me know if you're excited about, any of the edition games, the Switch 2 edition games, or whatever, or what you would like to see on the Switch 2. Just let me know what you're thinking about this whole situation. Let me know if you're going to be pre-ordering, all the things above. Anyway, I'll see you on the next one. Later. Spike content.